Good morning, CLC family. I hope that you had a wonderful Merry Christmas. I hope that you enjoyed your time with friends and family, or with your TV, or with your favorite tree, or whatever you did to celebrate the holidays. I hope that you had a wonderful time doing it. Welcome to the very last service of 2021. Can we believe it? This is the last service of 2021. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing it with us. And speaking of sharing, if you have not or did not have a chance to see the Christmas Eve service that we did, it is still available for you on Facebook. All you have to do is scroll down through the weekly videos that Reverend Lisa and Reverend David put out for us, and you can find it there, or you can go to YouTube and see it. All of our musicians and ministers and everyone worked really hard to make sure that we brought you a very special celebratory service. So again, if you have not seen it, please, by all means, go and watch it and enjoy. It was from the bottom of our hearts to your hearts. So we hope that you took it that way and it warmed you up just a little bit. Even though we in Texas don't need to be warmed too much more. Although I saw many people had white Christmases, I'm glad you enjoyed that as we toasted down here in our 80-degree temperature. So thank you. We come to our inner healing time. I invite each and every one of you, wherever you may be, to just relax your body. If you need to, go ahead and wiggle your shoulders a bit. Move your neck around. Allow all the stress and tension that you may be holding in your face, in your shoulders, in your abdomen, anywhere, just to ooze out of you for the moment. Put everything aside. It'll be there. Be here in this moment. Relax and allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own. For your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me. Sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. as I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words: I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Good in your life, Mary. Mary and I are going to play some piano duets for you today, some Christmas carols. The first one is Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella. The second one we'd like to play for you is Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Now for your next number, we want to see both of you play the harp. That was awesome. Again, not to belabor the point, but if you have not watched the Christmas Eve service yet, please do. It's awesome. And if you watch it, please watch all the way to the end, past when you think it's over, past when the candles get blown out and you think, well, we're done now. Keep watching because you're in for a wonderful treat. Today I'm talking about gifts growing us. And one kind of gift is a card. We exchange a lot of cards this time of year, virtual cards, actual cards. Cards come into the center. They come to me personally. They come to our ministers from Creative Life people currently here, people who moved away, people from years ago, and once in a while from people we don't know. I want to share with you a card we got. Thought was really cool. Came in the other day. It quotes John 8:12, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Then the personal greeting that's written on the card. Just wanted to send greetings and love to your congregation. It has been an honor to get to know David Dewhurst through Faiths Together. So grateful for the bridges we can build together. May the light of Jesus Christ fill your heart with joy and peace during this holiday season. And this is from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of Conroe. 4 of their elders. This, my friends, is first class. And so is that man back there who is creating these connections in our community. Thank you, Reverend David. But if you get a card, maybe sometimes you're disappointed. You're thinking, didn't I rate a gift? So, a little bit about gifts. Also called presents. I like to think of them as gifts because the word present just means something that's presented to you. And that isn't always a gift, is it? You can be presented with a bill. You can be presented with a headache. But a gift suggests something beneficial, something you might use. So we recently got through, just yesterday, exchanging a whole lot of gifts in our lives. And I remember the first time I bought somebody a gift in a store, and the clerk asked me, do you want the receipt in the box? And I said, good Lord, no. How tacky. And they said, well, the price isn't on it, you know. I said, well, then why would you? Well, it's a return receipt, you see. They want to return the thing, and it cuts through the paperwork to have this return receipt. I remember the first time that happened. Now it's old hat. Now it's, a thing that you give somebody something and you want to make it as easy as possible for them to exchange it for what they actually want. My thinking is if you give somebody something, make it as difficult as possible for them to exchange it for something else. Because if you didn't think they wanted this, you'd have gotten them something else. Right? But we hurry to exchange presents, and there are other options as well. The gifts of life. The gifts of life come to us, and a lot of times they don't fit. A lot of times they're not appropriate to us in our thinking about ourselves at the time, especially when we're younger, but still it applies today. What if somebody came to you, well, think of these two over here playing the piano. What if somebody came to you and presented you with a music book? I mean actual music, musical notation, You look at this and you think, well, this is great, but I can't read this. Well, you have to grow into it. Other people can read it. That's why they print these things. So there's a learning process. And maybe you've put it out there. Gosh, I'd love to be a musician. Gosh, I'd love to play an instrument. Maybe you said this 3 or 4 times or more over the course of the past year, and somebody heard you, and so they brought you a music book. And what it looks like is an assignment. You're going to have to grow into it. Now, you're not obliged to. But they're following up on what you said you wanted. This is how spiritual law works. You give it some clues, and it brings you a music book. It brings you a dictionary, and it says, here, put some words together. Or a thesaurus. Put some words together. and express yourself in some way. I watched the Kennedy Center Honors, Joni Mitchell, one of my favorites. They were all one. Berry Gordy, founder of Motown, on and on. But Joni Mitchell has been part of the soundtrack to my life, as she may have been to yours, and talked about what a wonderful artist she is. And they had her art displayed. She won a Grammy Award for album cover design some years ago, as well as all of the awards she's received for her music. At one point in time in her life, she was stifled artistically, kind of stuck when she was quite young. And a teacher said to her, then use words. And she became one of the great lyricists. You know, her poetry can stand alone, even if you take the melody away from it. Her lyrics stand alone as these heartfelt and heart-rending things. Sometimes we're presented with opportunities that we have nowhere to put them yet, but we will. And we have tipped the universe off that this is what we want to have happen. In my particular line of work, I see this occur a lot with practitioners and ministers, or people who think they want to be practitioners and ministers. They feel called to that in some way, you know, and it won't leave them alone. And it's not me doing this, it's not any of the rest of us in some conspiracy doing this, but they keep finding information about ministry and practitionering and this. They keep, nothing else will satisfy them. I famously quote Dr. Fred Vogt, one of my mentors in this, who when asked, how do I know I should be a minister? He said, there's one way, you can't do anything else. And he didn't mean that you're too inept to do anything else. He meant that anything else you try to do, something keeps tugging at your sleeve like, well, you could do that here too. You know, you could fold that into this. Life brings us what we want, whether or not we know we want it. Life brings us what we've ordered, whether or not we know we've ordered. Sometimes life looks a little bit like one of these auctions where you scratch your ear and you bought the painting. You know what I mean? I didn't, but on some level I wanted that. On some level I wanted that, and here it is. The life you ordered has arrived. We're on the cusp of a new year now. That's a trick of the light. That's a game we play. We invent the calendar. We move the calendar around a little so often. You'll see when you're reading history back through American, like the American Revolution and into the earlier part of the 18th century, you'll see the words OS in parentheses around a date. That means old system. That they changed the calendar right there, and 11 days went away. Just to collapse it all up because, what? Astronomy had advanced to the place where we could measure the turning of the earth and the orbiting of the earth around the sun in a clearer way. That is how we fix our calendars. So we all got together and decided in this culture that, what is it, next Saturday, you're going to wake up to a whole new year. And we make resolutions and we act like this is a real big cosmic do-over. Every day is. But let's take advantage of this one because we all agree to it. It's happening right now. We want to get a running start on the new year. You're going to make that running start with the gifts that you received in this year. And this has been a strange year. The year before it was a strange year. But if you want to split hairs, so was the year before that and the year before that. They're all strange if you look for strangeness. But they've also been beautiful and wonderful and comforting and gifting. We've had a lot of wins. We've gained a lot of things in our lives. We've also had a lot of surrendering to do. A lot of departing of beloveds. We've spoken of this heavily this month in this center with the party of Reverend Marcia. And then I woke up this morning and I saw Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu left the planet. Great spiritual light. Great spiritual light. Practice, walk. You know, I mean, it sounds so pedestrian to say he walked his talk, but this is a man who practiced forgiveness, heartfelt compassion, practiced it, modeled it for so many people who might not have ever read his words, might not have ever seen him interviewed. They knew of his work in overturning apartheid. They knew in his work about creating a world that works for everyone. In his dialogues with the Dalai Lama, and I gave a series of talks on those some years ago when the two of them came out with a book. Well, We've released a lot of people, but the energy of Reverend Marcia, the energy of Archbishop Tutu is still here with us. It's still informing us. It's still filling our hearts. It'll never go away. At this season of the year, a lot of times we look back at our own families and the passages that we've experienced, the people who raised us who are now gone, and the people who raised them. And sometimes the old traditions have kind of dwindled, because there's not enough people around to sustain them. And we mourn the loss of these things, and there's an emptiness that comes into us. But every emptiness is a place like under the tree. It's a place for a gift. It's a place where a gift can settle in, where a gift can find lodging, where a gift can find room at the inn. Some gift coming to us, some spiritual gift. The thing I want to make you aware of, those, like I said, there are options besides returning the thing. Somebody says, I think you're wonderful. I think you're smart. I think you're highly capable of doing great things, and we receive that as praise, and sometimes we want to brush it off as quickly as we can. Just drop it. Not me. You don't. If you really knew me, you wouldn't say these things. You wouldn't compliment me if you knew my evil side. Somebody sees something in you that you don't see in yourself. Somebody expresses to you some ability that you have. People have had their lives changed by you. People have had their lives changed by you, not just the people that immediately jump to mind, but all along people have seen themselves in a better light because of you and because of the work that you've done. So when the gift comes to you, don't be so quick to return it. The gift of the thing to grow into. I was reading a piece about how a woman was going through just recently, her attic, and she was finding a bunch of gifts that she'd been given by her family over the years that she thought at the time were ugly and uncool, and you know how kids are, and she put these things away. Now she's going through that trunk in the attic, and tears are streaming down her face because they were so cute and so uncool that they really meant something to her. A lot of times, I talked about this Christmas Eve with Santa bringing the naughty kids a lump of coal, and a lump of coal meant warmth and it meant light. It meant basic survival. A lot of times people gift us in practical ways with stuff we can really use. Have you ever gotten socks for Christmas? Especially when you were younger. Yeah. That's not a bad gift. You're going to use them. They're going to wear out, and you're going to get more socks. And you might say, yeah, but I wanted something fancier and all of this. You put it in perspective when you realize there are a lot of people on this planet don't have socks, much less fresh new ones every time the old ones wear out. People give you ugly sweaters, but they still keep you warm. Life brings you strange gifts, but before you return it, see if you're going to grow into it. See if you might make some use of it down the road. And if you have to let it pass through your hands at all, try re-gifting it. Try passing it along to someone else. No strings attached. And that's the thing about gifts as the giver, is when they leave your hands, let them leave your hands. And it's not, I'm giving you this music book and I expect you to check back in with me in 6 months and be able to play the first half of it. No, I'm letting it go and it'll be what it will be. And you'll do what you'll do with it. If it's not gifted that way, it's not a gift, it's a loan. Or it's an investment, but it's not a gift. And you don't make loans to people who haven't asked for them. And you don't make investments in people who aren't receiving investments. That's not fair. That's manipulative. So if it's a gift, you give it, you let it go. In the same way, if it comes to you, it's not an obligation. You can always change your mind about what you're going to do with the thing. My point is, just don't be too quick to judge. Don't be too quick to judge. You have no idea who you're going to be and how you're going to be 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, where you're going to pick something up that's going to make a difference to you. Think about all the books that have passed through your hands. Think about the books that maybe you were made to read in school. And you thought, this is awful. This is the worst part, especially if they sent you home with it over Christmas vacation. At the school I went to, up north, One Christmas, and this was a religious school, they sent us home. Danielle knows the story. They sent us home and they said, learn the multiplication tables up to 12 times 12 before you come back. You talk about a miserable Christmas. It was miserable for me as a kid. It was miserable for my grandmother. Rest her soul. She'd be, what did I figure out? 136. Her birthday's Christmas Day. She'd been 136 yesterday. She had my mother late in life. My mother had me relatively. That's why, if you're doing the math in your head, how old is this man anyway? But she was the one with the flashcards. You know, she was the one who sat patiently opposite me. And I don't even know if she knew her multiplication tables all that well, but together we learned them, you know, worked our way through it. And at the time, this was a root canal, and I thought, this is the most useless thing anybody has ever had me do. You know what? I've been using those things my whole life. Now there's an app for that. I have a phone. You have a phone. We can look this stuff up, but a lot of times you just go to it. It's good training for the mind. It's good to keep your mind sharp that way. We don't have to look everything. I carry a lot of trivia in my head, not because I have to anymore. I can offload a lot of it to Wikipedia, but I carry a lot of trivia in my head because I like it there. And it keeps me sharp, I think. You be the judge of that. But I jump from thought to thought, and I string them all together, and I think it's a healthy thing to do. There are things like this that we grow into. There was a story I told on a Wednesday night a few years ago. I cannot find the reference again. If you're interested, I'll pull it up, or you can Google it. It was somebody who won a Nobel Prize for some science, something in the STEM fields, who had, as a young man, had a girlfriend, like early in college. This guy had no idea what he wanted to do with his life, and the girlfriend gave him they had very little money. It's like an O. Henry story. He bought her a comb, and she bought him a watch chain. I don't know. He bought her something, and she bought him a book she found on sale just because it was on sale. And it looked like a nice book, and she thought he should have it. And it was a book on physics, a slim book. And he devoured it, and he became a physicist or scientist of some kind. I'm not sure what field exactly it was that he won but he won a Nobel Prize in it because he read this book. There's stuff been sitting around. Books as a symbol. Information has been sitting around in front of us, hidden in plain sight, that holds the answers to what we want to make of our lives from this point forward. You ordered it, I ordered it, it arrived, it opened itself, and it sat there, and it's waiting for us to pick it up. The cleverest gifts in life are not handed to us by another human who announces it as a gift. The cleverest gifts in life open themselves and lay around the room, waiting for our attention, waiting for us to see them. In the same way that your divinity rests within you, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. You and I and all our fellow humans search high and low for it, invent complicated religious theories about it, anoint different messiahs over it, venerate certain holy books, and all along, it's right there. I am, the I am at the heart of us. And I tell that story my way, and you tell that story your way, and that's how it should be, and that's what we've come here to do, which is why at the Christmas season we speak about the only begotten being forever begotten through each one of us. Each one of us is the incarnation of the Christ idea in a newly individualized way, the likes of which has never been seen before. There's never been anyone here like you. There have been people more like you than they're not, and people are more like other people than they're like, I don't know, trees or clouds. But still in all, there's a uniqueness to each one of us in how we combine all the thoughts and feelings that we have within ourselves in order to shape a life. So finally this, just get ready. I'm going to miss this tree on this stage. I love working with you, man. Love your work. I'm going to miss this tree when in another week or 10 days it goes back in the box for another year. But the gifts that it represents, I'm not going to miss, because I'm going to keep, going to use them. I'm going to pull them out and use them all through the year. One thing everybody wants right now is a plan for moving forward. When will the pandemic be over? When will things get back to normal? When will the schools be? Somebody was saying the other day, they said, well, it's the holidays. I wanted to see a show. All the shows are shut down. I wanted to go to my favorite restaurant, eat. My favorite restaurant's closed. Account of this. Well, I thought I'd sit home and watch sports on TV then. But half of them are canceled. Everybody wants a plan. And right now it's very hard to plan. So right now we're in that place of grace. We're in that place of trust. We're in that place of having faith that there's a power that's greater than we are. And we're going to use what's at hand, not what's going to show up when our ship comes in. Not what's going to arrive when all of this is over and everything gets back to normal and we can do the usual things in the usual way. No, we're going to use what's at hand, or like they said back in the Depression, use it up, wear it out, make it do. We're going to use what we have. We're going to use what we have. And what we have is plenty. We have plenty of love. We have plenty of trust. We have plenty of compassion. We have plenty of everything. So look at the gifts of life that you have received to date. Look at the gifts of life that are going to come in the next few days before the calendar page turns into the new year. And the gifts that appear to be delayed. And finally this, if they're delayed, they're not lost. No gift is lost. No soul is lost. If they're delayed, why not call it good and say the thing will get here at the perfect right time, when I'm absolutely ready, eyes wide open, ready to take it, ready to internalize it. The thing will show up at exactly the right time for me. And trust that. And you're putting that then into spiritual law. The more that you give to spiritual law in terms of leeway, trust, empowerment, the more spiritual law can meet you with that. Spiritual law, being law, has no attitude about it, has no agenda for you or anything else. It's simply a reciprocal thing. It responds by corresponding. And so when you give it the energy of yes, you grease the wheels under it to produce your good and consequently the world's good. So those are my thoughts on gifts. Let's take a moment now and turn within and know there is one gift. And that gift is spirit, and that gift is all the gift there ever has been or ever could be, and everything that appears in form is some variation on that, some particular expression of that. The one gift, life, beingness, I amness. And I affirm and know within each of our hearts there is an acceptance of our unbroken and unbreakable connection in spirit. That thereby the desires of our hearts are in the process of coming true in solid, tangible, verifiable form. That which we seek is seeking us. It is flying towards us right now, even as I speak. Sometimes as an assignment, sometimes as information to be internalized and learned. Sometimes as a freedom, a liberation from the constraints of the past. Sometimes as a shaking off of an old outworn idea, but in every case, authored by the one life, the one mind, the one giver of all gifts that I know as my mother, Father, God. For this knowing and its expression and form, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now, calling it done, and so it is.
Speaking of gifts, as our ushers make their way to the back, I want to thank each and every one of you for your gift to this center. Thank you for the gift of your presence. Thank you for the gift of your donations. Thank you for the gift of your love. It's because of what you give to us that we can be here to serve you. So thank you. No matter how big or how small, it is appreciated. We are truly grateful for it, and we want to sincerely thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, I invite you to say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
I was going to say, if you couldn't see it, because the vantage that I had, the grin on Mary's face was pretty amazing. So, y'all are clearly having a good time. Okay, the business is that right after the service, if you would like individual treatment, then Jim Cantor is our on-site, and he will meet you back in the children's room, and Monty Wilson is our on the phone, and so if she hasn't got it in there yet, the phone number will be up in just a minute in the chat for you people online if you want to take advantage of that. I did not know about Reverend Tutu. So I've been out of the loop for a few days. So now I do, and it immediately brought to mind one of my favorite quotes by him. So I'm going to gift you that, and then I'm going to gift you the other one that I found when I was looking for the one I wanted. One of the things that I love, and it really does inform my ministry, is we need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. So that's Reverend Desmond Tutu there. And that is my absolute favorite quote from him. And if you hit brainy quotes, he's got a lot of them. So feel free to go look at that. But when I was looking for that one, the very first one that came up, and I went ahead and pulled it because one, it deals with gifts, and two, it deals with, the Christmas season. And what did we just spend a whole lot of time with over the Christmas season? Our family. And his quote is, "You don't choose your family. They are God's gift to you as you are to them." And if you have a family like mine, Reverend Jesse's talk just played right into that. Because we don't always fit. We don't always fit. But we grow into it. So in that, I invite you into that sacred space of knowing that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And as we have just walked through the Advent season, we've just walked through the Christmas season, the holiday season, I know that I'm a part of that love. So in the swirling of the lights and the gifts and the twinkles and the tinkles and the music and everything that is going on, I want you to surround yourself with that love. Because I know that that love surrounds you now. It flows through you now. It is in you, as you, through you. You are the channel of that love into this world. And so as we open our gifts, or in some cases open our eyes to our gifts, one of the greatest gifts that we can give to anyone, everyone, including ourselves, is love. So I know for you the love of God, the peace of God, the joy of God, the harmony of God, the rest of God, or all of God. And I know this love, this peace, this all, and I know it with gratitude. And I am grateful for you. I am grateful for this love. I am grateful for this place. I am grateful for this teaching. And I am grateful for the knowing that in this teaching, what we do is to go upstream and find out why people are falling in. So if you have fallen in, we will fish you out. And we will help you find a way to stop falling in. Unless you choose to. Because sometimes a ride downstream is a good thing. All right? So, in gratitude, I release this, knowing it is so, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in everything I am. I choose it. I trust it. I use it. And I love it.